The summer heat shimmered off the asphalt at the Chevron station on Highway 47, creating waves that made the world look like it was melting. Marcus Sterling stood frozen at pump number 7, staring at the digital screen that had just delivered 3 crushing words that would change everything. Transaction declined. Please try another card. The 64-year-old man who once controlled a pharmaceutical empire worth $4.2 billion felt his chest tighten as 20 pairs of eyes turned to watch his humiliation unfold. Marcus wore a simple gray polo shirt and khaki pants that had seen better days. But the Patek Philippe watch on his wrist told a different story, one that made this moment even more confusing for everyone watching. Just 8 weeks ago, he had been featured on the cover of Fortune magazine as the maverick who revolutionized affordable medicine distribution in developing countries. Now he stood here, unable to pay $37 for gas, while strangers whispered and pointed their phones at him like he was some kind of circus attraction. The attendant, a young man named Carlos, with tired eyes and a name tag that said he had been Employee of the Month 3 times, cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Sir, I need you to move your vehicle if you cannot complete the transaction. Other customers are waiting." Marcus reached for his second card with trembling fingers, knowing it would also be declined. He knew exactly why this was happening. His business partner of 20 years, Vincent Crawford, had orchestrated a hostile takeover while Marcus was investigating suspicious deaths linked to one of their experimental drugs in Africa. The board had voted him out, frozen his assets, and launched a character assassination campaign that painted him as mentally unstable and financially reckless. The second card was declined. Then the third. A woman in designer sunglasses laughed, loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Look at this fool trying to pretend he has money. Probably stole that watch too." Another person was already posting a video to Instagram with the caption, "Rich guy learns what real life feels like." The shame burned through Marcus like acid, but what hurt most was knowing that somewhere, Vincent was probably watching this unfold through the security cameras he had hacked into, enjoying every second of his former partner's destruction. That was when 2 small voices cut through the cruel laughter, like sunshine breaking through storm clouds. "Mister, we can help you pay." Everyone turned to see 2 identical girls, no more than 9 years old, standing beside a beat-up Toyota Corolla. They wore matching yellow sundresses with tiny sunflowers printed on them, their hair styled in beautiful cornrow braids decorated with colorful beads that clicked softly when they moved. The girls held hands, and in their free hands, they clutched a small purple wallet covered in unicorn stickers. The taller twin, by maybe an inch, stepped forward with confidence that seemed impossible for someone so young. "My name is Destiny, and this is my sister Trinity. We have $23.42 from our lemonade stand. You can have it all." The gas station fell completely silent. Even the highway noise seemed to fade away as everyone processed what they were witnessing. These 2 black children were offering their hard-earned money to help a white stranger who looked like he should have been able to buy the entire gas station, their grandmother, a woman in her 70s wearing a church dress despite it being Tuesday afternoon, hurried over from the car with alarm written across her face. "Destiny, Trinity, what do you think you are doing? You cannot just give away your college fund money to strangers." "But Grandma Rosetta," Trinity said in her softer voice, "you always tell us that God puts people in our path for a reason. Maybe we are supposed to help him today." The old woman looked at Marcus, really looked at him, and something in her eyes changed. She saw past the expensive watch to the broken man underneath, the kind of brokenness that money could never fix. She had seen that look before in her late husband's eyes when he lost his job at the factory after 30 years and felt like the world had thrown him away like garbage. "Baby girls," she said gently, "if you want to help this man, then we help him, but we do it together as a family." Marcus felt tears streaming down his face as this family of strangers surrounded him with kindness he had not experienced in months. The twins counted out their money with the seriousness of bank tellers, making sure every penny was accounted for. Grandma Rosetta added $15 from her purse, money she had been saving for groceries. Together, they had enough to fill half his tank, enough to get him where he needed to go. The crowd that had been laughing moments before now stood in uncomfortable silence. Some lowered their phones, suddenly ashamed of their behavior. Others walked away quickly, unable to face the mirror these children had held up to their cruelty. Marcus knelt down to the twins' eye level, his voice breaking as he spoke. "Why would you do this for someone you do not even know?" Destiny smiled, showing a gap where she had recently lost a tooth. "Because being rich is not about how much money you have, it is about how much you are willing to share. My teacher, Miss Johnson, taught us that." Trinity nodded, adding her own wisdom. "And because you looked sad, money cannot fix sad, but kindness can help a little bit." These words from 9-year-old children hit Marcus harder than any board meeting or hostile takeover ever could. For 20 years, he had built his life around accumulating wealth and power. Believing that money was the ultimate measure of success, he had missed birthdays, anniversaries, and countless moments with his own children because there was always another deal to close, another million to make. Now, standing in this gas station, being saved by 2 little girls with hearts bigger than any bank account, he finally understood what he had lost long before Vincent took his company away. As the twins and their grandmother walked back to their car, Marcus called out to them, "Wait, please. I need to know how to find you again, to pay you back." Grandma Rosetta turned around with a knowing smile. "Child, you do not pay back kindness. You pay it forward. We will be just fine. God always provides for those who provide for others." She wrote down her phone number on a napkin, not for repayment, but because she sensed this man needed more than gas money. He needed hope. As their old Toyota drove away, making concerning noises that suggested it needed serious repairs, Marcus stood there holding the napkin like it was a lifeline. He did not know it yet, but those 2 little girls named Destiny and Trinity had just given him exactly what their names promised: a new destiny and a trinity of purpose, redemption, and hope. The video of him being helped by the twins would indeed go viral, but not in the way Vincent Crawford had planned. Instead of destroying Marcus completely, it would become the spark that ignited a revolution neither of them saw coming. Vincent Crawford sat in his corner office on the 50th floor of Sterling Pharmaceuticals, now renamed Crawford Global Health, watching the video on his phone with satisfaction. His plan was working perfectly. Marcus looked pathetic, broken, exactly as Vincent had intended. But as he watched the twins help his former partner, something unexpected happened. The comments were not what he had anticipated. Instead of mockery, people were praising the children and questioning why a billionaire's cards would all be declined at once. "This seems suspicious," wrote one user with 2 million followers. 3 cards declined. "That is not bankruptcy. That is sabotage." Another comment that went viral read, "Those beautiful girls just showed more class than every adult at that gas station. Someone find them so we can reward their kindness." Vincent's satisfaction turned to concern as he realized the narrative was shifting in a direction he had not controlled. His phone rang, and his assistant's nervous voice filled the room. "Mr. Crawford, we have a problem. The video has been picked up by major news outlets, but they are not running the story. You wanted? They are investigating why Mr. Sterling's assets were frozen and who those girls are. People are starting to ask questions about the company takeover." Within 48 hours, Destiny and Trinity became national sensations, but not in the exploitative way that often happens with viral videos. Their school principal, Mrs. Patricia Williams, protected them fiercely. only allowing one carefully controlled interview where the twins simply said they helped because it was the right thing to do. Their lemonade stand, which had been a small operation in their grandmother's front yard, suddenly had lines of customers stretching around the block. People were not just buying lemonade. They were leaving $100 bills and telling the girls to keep the change. A GoFundMe page set up by a neighbor to help Grandma Rosetta fix her car raised $300,000 in 3 days. But the twins and their grandmother refused to keep most of it, instead asking that it be distributed to other families in their community who were struggling. The world was watching 2 children teach a masterclass in humanity, and it was beautiful. Marcus, meanwhile, had disappeared from public view, but he was far from idle. The napkin with Rosetta's phone number had led to several long conversations, where she had invited him to stay in her garage apartment while he figured out his next steps. It was there, in a tiny space above a garage in a working-class neighborhood, that Marcus began planning his comeback. Using a laptop he bought from a pawn shop and Wi-Fi borrowed from Rosetta's house, Marcus started documenting everything he knew about Vincent's corruption. For 20 years, they had built Sterling Pharmaceuticals together. But Marcus had always been the scientist, the visionary who actually cared about helping people, while Vincent had been the businessman who only saw dollar signs. The hostile takeover had been planned for years, waiting for the perfect moment when Marcus would be vulnerable. That moment had come when Marcus discovered that their affordable malaria medication, which was supposed to be saving lives in Africa, was actually a diluted version that Vincent had authorized to increase profits. Children were dying because Vincent wanted to squeeze out an extra 2% margin. Marcus had confronted him, threatened to go public, and that was when Vincent struck, using falsified documents to convince the board that Marcus had been embezzling funds and making irrational decisions. Now, sitting in that humble garage apartment, Marcus compiled every piece of evidence he had secretly gathered over the years. Every email, every offshore account, every bribe Vincent had paid 2 health officials to look the other way. 3 weeks after the gas station incident, Marcus was ready. He had contacted investigative journalist Diana Chen, who had been suspicious of Crawford Global Health's practices for years, but never had enough proof to publish anything. When she saw what Marcus had compiled, she knew this would be the biggest story of her career. But Marcus had one condition. Destiny and Trinity's family had to be protected from any backlash. Diana agreed, and they planned the expose carefully. The story broke on a Monday morning, strategically timed for maximum impact on the stock market. Billionaire's Revenge: How to Children's Kindness Exposed a Pharmaceutical Conspiracy. The article detailed not just the financial crimes, but the human cost of Vincent's greed. Pictures of children in African villages who had died from ineffective medicine were juxtaposed with Vincent's $100 million yacht and 17 luxury homes. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. By noon, Crawford Global Health's stock had dropped 60%. By the end of the day, the FBI had raided their offices, and Vincent Crawford was in federal custody. But the real victory came a week later when Marcus held a press conference. He stood before the cameras, not in an expensive suit, but in the same gray polo shirt he had worn at the gas station. Next to him stood Destiny and Trinity, holding their grandmother's hands. Marcus announced that he was starting a new company, one that would truly deliver affordable medicine to those who needed it most. The company would be called Destiny Trinity Pharmaceuticals, and the twins would be on the junior board of advisors, ensuring that every decision was made with kindness and humanity in mind. Furthermore, Marcus pledged that 50% of all profits would go to communities like the one that had saved him when he had nothing. The twins would help decide how that money was distributed because, as he said, they understood wealth better than any adult he had ever met. Grandma Rosetta was given a position as community liaison, persuading that the company never lost touch with the people it was meant to serve. The garage apartment where Marcus had planned his comeback was turned into a museum of sorts. A reminder that the greatest ideas could come from the humblest places. Vincent Crawford was eventually sentenced to 35 years in federal prison for fraud, embezzlement, and negligent homicide related to the deaths caused by diluted medicine. During his sentencing, he broke down crying, not because of his punishment, but because he finally understood what he had lost. In pursuing wealth without wisdom, power without purpose, he had become everything he had once promised himself he would never be. The judge, before delivering the sentence, read a letter that Destiny and Trinity had written to the court. They did not ask for Vincent to be punished harshly. Instead, they wrote, "Mr. Vincent forgot that money is supposed to help people, not hurt them. We hope that while he is away, he remembers that being rich means making other people's lives better, not making yours bigger. Maybe when he comes back, he can help people too. It is never too late to choose kindness." The courtroom was silent as tears rolled down Vincent's face. 2 children had shown more grace toward him than he had ever shown toward anyone. 5 years later, Destiny Trinity Pharmaceuticals had become one of the most successful and ethical pharmaceutical companies in the world. The twins, now 14, regularly spoke at schools and conferences about the importance of kindness in business. They had written a children's book called The Lemonade Stand that changed the world, with all proceeds going to fund free medical clinics in underserved communities. Marcus had rebuilt his fortune, but more importantly, he had rebuilt his soul. He never missed a family dinner now, never chose a meeting over a moment that mattered. His own children, who had been estranged during his years of corporate obsession, had reconnected with him, inspired by his transformation. Grandma Rosetta had become something of a celebrity herself, known for her wisdom and no-nonsense approach to corporate ethics. She had a corner office at Destiny Trinity Pharmaceuticals where she held court, making sure every executive remembered that their decisions affected real people with real struggles. Her famous saying, painted on the wall of the company's lobby, read, "Money without morals is just paper. Kindness without action is just words. But when you combine resources with righteousness, you can change the world." The gas station where it all began had been purchased by Marcus and turned into a community center called the Kindness Station. It offered free tutoring, meals for hungry families, and a place where anyone could come for help without judgment. The exact pump where Marcus's cards had been declined was preserved with a plaque that read, "At this spot." 2 9-year-old girls proved that the smallest acts of kindness can topple the mightiest towers of greed. Let all who pass through here remember that true wealth is measured not in what you have, but in what you are willing to give. Carlos, the attendant who had witnessed it all, now managed the community center, his tired eyes replaced with purpose and pride. Every year on the anniversary of that fateful day, Marcus, the twins, and Grandma Rosetta returned to the Kindness Station to serve free lemonade and tell their story to anyone who would listen. The twins, now young women pursuing degrees in medicine and business, never forgot the lesson they had learned that hot summer day. They often said that they had not saved Marcus Sterling. He had saved himself by choosing to transform his humiliation into humility, his loss into a lesson, his downfall into an uprising. Vincent Crawford, serving his time in federal prison, had started teaching literacy to other inmates and writing letters of apology to the families affected by his crimes. He would never fully atone for what he had done, but he spent every day trying to be the man those 2 little girls had believed everyone could become with enough kindness and second chances. He kept a photo from the news in his cell, not of his former wealth or power, but of Destiny and Trinity at their lemonade stand. A daily reminder that true success was measured in the lives you lifted up, not the ones you stepped on to climb higher. The story of the billionaire's card being declined at a gas station had become legend. taught in business schools and Sunday schools alike. But those who knew the full story understood that the real miracle was not Marcus's comeback or Vincent's downfall. It was that two little black twins named Destiny and Trinity had done the unthinkable. They had proven that kindness was not weakness, but the ultimate strength. That generosity was not foolishness, but the highest wisdom, and that sometimes the smallest hands could move the biggest mountains in the end. The title that had once seemed like a humiliation, Billionaire's card declined at gas station. Then little black twins did the unthinkable, became a badge of honor. A reminder that rock bottom could become the foundation for reaching heights that money alone could never achieve. Marcus Sterling often said in interviews that he had been a billionaire twice in his life, once when he had $4 billion and felt empty, and once when he had nothing but the kindness of strangers and felt richer than ever before. The second time, he insisted, was the only time it truly counted. And in boardrooms and classrooms, in churches and community centers, the story lived on, inspiring countless others to choose kindness over cruelty, community over competition, and love over lucre. Because two 9-year-old girls with $23.42 had proven that the unthinkable was not only possible, but necessary. That in a world obsessed with taking, the real power belonged to those brave enough to give.